Just a minute, just 1 minute, guys. Uh, Screen okay, everything is okay. I'm going to go live, and it's fine now. Let's go live. Let's go live. There was something. Oh, yeah. This is. I have this one chat. Chat is not showing it properly, so I will just change it out. There's something a little bit different in the chat. Yes, now it's fine. Chat is also fine. Everything is fine, and yes, this is also fine. We can see the chat in the screen, right? I can see the chat, right? Yes, I can see the chat, but I'm not able to increase it. Yes, it's fine now. Chat is fine. Everything is fine. Where are you from? Samrit Das, thank you for being there with us. I'll be there for sure. So I'm from Nepal, and we are live today with our first class on the Endgame. Endgame, and today we have King and Pawn Endgame. This is our first position, and we'll start with very basic Endgame. And yes, of course, if you know this basic Endgame, you can revise it, or you can also have some advantage. You can have something more. You can learn from it. You can learn the insights, and also you can find out the good move. What if it's black to move? What do you think will happen? And if it's white to move, what do you think will happen? Let me check it out. It's live or not? Let me check it out. Of course, this is a position where you need to know about the opposition. Of Many of you might know what the opposition is. Of course, when you launch chess, when you launch the end game, king end game, you have to know what is opposition. Let me share it out. I'll be showing you much more position than actual one. The audio is fine, everything is fine, but I'm not able to listen it myself. Just a minute, guys. After everything goes fine, we'll be continuing the class. So don't get hurry in that. If you are watching and have not liked the video, you can simply yes. Now it's fine. Yeah, it's showing. It's all fine. Let's go now. Excellent connection. Yes, now it's connection. First of all, you need to know what is. I'm just maintaining my streaming. How many of you are watching? Please do like the video so that it will go to others. And today we have our first session for endgame study, and today we have king pawn endgame. And in this endgame, we will be looking at the opposition theory. This is the first chapter we'll be looking out, and in this position you need to know about the opposition. How many of you know about the opposition, guys? I just forgot to post it in our Facebook page. Let me start now. Opposition when two kings have a square apart, there will be a square difference between them. Then it is known as opposition among themselves. It might be in the file, or it might be in the rank. If there will be, like, if king is on the d3, then white is taking a position in black because there is one square difference between them. There will be having one square between them. Then it is known as a position. Of course, if black is on the d4, black if moves on the d4, then black will be taking a position, and of course black will be having a position. So similarly, if king goes to the e3, then after there will be king to e5, black will be taking a position against white. We can simply say when there will be one square difference between two kings, then it is known as a position. It might be in the file or it might be in the rank. Like the king can be on the b5 and can have the position. Similarly, king can be on the d3 and can have the position. Similarly, king can be on the f5 and can have the position. So this is our first position, and we if we know what is our position, we can find out who will be winning and we can find out who will be losing the game. If you were watching, what will happen? Let's answer the question: what will happen if it's black to play, and what will happen if white to play? Let's see, guys. I'll give you 1 minute. I'll give you 1 minute to find out what will be if it's black to play and what will be it's white to play. We'll have different more than we'll have more than 5 elections today, so this is our first position. Most probably I will be streaming for more than 1 hour. It might be for 1 hour, so guys, you can learn much more in games today, much more on in games, so you can find out, you can learn from it. This is our first position. What will happen, I'll explain it one by one to everyone, so you can of course learn for sure. Every Tuesday we are planning to teach you. Every Tuesday we are planning to teach you Endgame, and of course every Sunday we are planning to play with the subscribers. So if you have not subscribed our channel, please do subscribe and support us. Yes, of course. If it's white to play, it will be win for white, and if it's black to play, it will be draw. Of course, it will be draw for black. And if you know the opposition, then you can do draw for black. Let's see what will happen and how will black continue to win the game. If you know the opposition, what is opposition? When you move your king in such a way, there will be one square gap between the two kings, then it is known as opposition. So always you should take the opposition. When you move the king to the d3, there will be one square gap between the two kings, either in the file or either in the rank. So king can be on the d3 to take the opposition, king can be on the f5 to take the opposition, king can be on the b5 to take the opposition. Similarly, king can be on the d7 to take the opposition. So king to d3 is the first move that must be played to win the game. If king is not played on the d3 and plays on the e3, it will be draw now. Let's see how it will be. Like your opponent king will be going to the e5 and your opponent will simply take the opposition. There will be one square gap between them and it will simply your opponent will take the opposition. If you move your king like this, then your opponent will simply move to the again d5, and if you will move the pawn on the e4, then you will move your king to the e5. You can move your king to the you can also move your king to the d6, but you have to be in such a way that you should always take the opposition. Like if you move on the e5, your opponent must move on the e3 to protect the pawn. Always remember, you should move your king just behind the pawn. It should be in the same file where there is a pawn. So in this case, you should move your king to the same file, and if king to the d4, then simply take the position again. If pawn pushes again, just block the way. If king comes here again to the same file, then after if king comes again take the opposition, then after pawn pushes, then king comes here, then if king comes here again to the same file, do not go on this one. If you go this, it will be losing for you. Let's see out. If comes here, king comes here, this one, and then after pawn push, it will be immediately losing. King can come out and king can go, and it will be immediately losing for you. So always you should go in the same file, just behind the pawn. It will be there. King goes here, and then after take the opposition. If pawn pushes now, king goes to the e8. Then your opponent should of course protect the pawn, and if king comes here, it will be stalemate. Means if it's black to play or your opponent moves on the king to e3, it will be immediate draw for you. So king to e3 is the mistake. So only move to win the game is king to d3, taking the opposition. We have answer already. Answer by Casual gossip. Yes, it's king to d3 that is played. That should be played by you to win the game. So if king comes here, again you should take the opposition. If king comes here, you shouldn't take the opposition. Just bring your king towards the 8th rank so that you can promote your pawn to the queen. If king comes here, again take the opposition. If king comes here, just go forward. And if again king comes here, you can take like this. And if king comes here, you can go for king to f6. If king comes here, again you can come here and then go for it. If king comes forward, then just push your pawn. If king comes up, then just push your pawn. If king comes here, then push your pawn. If king comes here, then again push your pawn. Simply you can push the pawn. And if in this case, if king comes over here, you should take the opposition. And king comes here, goes here. Then after, if king comes here, pawn push, goes here, pawn push, king comes here, and you can simply have queen coming up. Hope everyone understood it, and most probably you will be winning the game, and you should know what is opposition. We'll be having a separate chapter for opposition. This is simply a king pawn endgame, and this is very basic we are starting with. Yes, everything is fine, right? Nothing is bad. Everything is fine. This is good. Good. I can see viewers watching and just commenting. Thank you for being there with us. Of course, we are trying to make you all go great. Yes, this is our first lesson. What happens if king to e3? Yes, we have already shown what happens if king to e3. Similarly, we have the only move king to d3. What happens if black to move in this case? If it's black to move in this case, your opponent can simply come here on the d4 and take the opposition, and you will be having the same position. Like if pawn push, king can come here, and then after king comes here, just go behind the pawn in the same file. If king comes here, take the position, and again if pawn pushes in the same file of the pawn, and if king protects the pawn and similar to the same position, it will be same as the position as I taught you. Let's go to the another position, and we have another position of king pawn endgame, and this is the position we are looking at. It is similar to the in this also we have to take the opposition, so you should know what the opposition is. We have our next position, and this is our king pawn endgame. What do you think will happen? It's white to play, and what do you think? We have a extra pawn for white. How would white win the game, or it will be draw the game? It will be draw. What do you think will happen? We have our next position, guys. Let's make it interesting, man. Let's have an interactive one. Let's comment it out. Comment the answer. What do you think will happen, guys? Let's make it more interesting. If you're watching, do comment and make it more interesting so that you can also see whether you are right or not, whether you can find out the answer or not. I'll give you 2 minutes for this because it is somehow not so easy. So you can of course find it out if you have done it before, but if you have not done it, you cannot find it out. It's not so easy for those who have not done it. But of course, if you are more talented, if you know more in game, then you can of course win. This is next position. From today we have started to teach you endgame, and we have started with the king pawn endgame, and this is our second position we are looking forward. What would happen if it's white to play? It's white to play. Anyone who can answer it out. Rajan Paudel, I'm watching. Thank you, Rajan Paudel, watching. You can make it more interactive of just answering the question. Just think of it and, of course, make it. To repeat the position, this is the position of second. This is second position. You can just go back with the video and you can find the first position for sure. So you can see it will be uploaded again in the YouTube. You can see it later on. No problem in that case. You can will be continue with the second position itself. You can just go rewind the video and see the first position as well. No problem in that case. Rajendra Paudel. It's white to play. What will happen? Sorry. Of course, black is taking the opposition over here since it might be the black might have king on the d8 and it just moved to the d sorry e8. So it might be the move that black played. Here black is taking the opposition. You might know what the opposition is. I've already said you what is a position. A position is that when there will be one square difference between the two kings, then it is known as opposition. It might be in the file, it might be in the rank, it might be in the file, or it might be in rank. So anywhere where there will be one square difference between the two kings, then it is known as opposition. That means king is on the e8. I got an answer for king to d6. King to d6 is not the correct one. If king to d6, then black can play like this, king to f7. Then how you will continue? If king comes here, king comes here. If king comes here, king can simply come here. How will you continue? King to d6. What after king to d6? I will move simply. I can move king to f7. How you will continue? Or I can play king to f8 as well. So king to d6. What do you think is king to d6 correct one or not? Since I'm teaching you guys, this is learning session, so I don't need to explain it much more. It's to make more interactive way and to make it more interactive. You have to comment it out. Whoever is watching, you can say the answer. If king to d6, I got an answer for king to d6 and it's not the correct one. It might be a correct one, but the actual is not the king to d6. Later on it will come to like if king to f8. If king comes on the d7, then we have king to f7. If king comes here again, we have king to f8, and this king moves us here and here, and this how we will be winning this. King to d6 is not the correct one. What will be the next one? Let me check it out. How many of you are watching? Please do comment it out so that I can see. Every Monday we are playing with subscriber, and every Tuesday we are trying to teach you some end games, and we will be of course coming with some other session like we can have some top players of Nepal and also from other country. We can have some opening session and something like that. Different session we can have, and there will be different video that will be uploaded in our channel. So if you have not subscribed our channel, please do subscribe and support us. Please be there. King to d6 is not the correct move. Let's have the accurate move. That is f7. F7 is the correct move. And if king to f8, now king to f6, is it correct? King to f6 is correct or not? What do you think, guys? King to f6 is correct or not? If king to f6, there will be immediate stalemate, and your opponent will not have the move, and you will simply lose the game. Even king to d6 was also correct, but there will be similar pattern like f7 goes here, then after king to d6. You can also play like if king to d6, your opponent could play on the f7, king to f7, so it will be having one move. There will be one move lost. So first you should play f7, then king goes here, then after king to d6. Just giving up the pawn, captures, then after king comes here, king goes here, king comes up. Now king have to protect the pawn, like king goes to g7, king comes here, king goes here, then after king to f6, king to f8, taking the opposition, king captures, king goes here, king goes here. Where should now queen go? Where should Rajendra Paudel, your answer was accurate, but you have one move lost after king to d6. So first move was f7, then after king to d6 was the accurate move. However, it is also okay for you. So guys, this is the moment what you will do. You'll go for king to f6 or you'll go for king to f6. There is two move for you. What you will play? King to f6 or king to h6. Both are correct, but I prefer you to play king to h6. There are some moments you should always play king to h6. I prefer you to play king to h6 instead of playing king to f6, because there are some moment when there will be pawn push, and then after pawn push there will be a stalemate coming up. Like if you pawn push in this moment, there is no stalemate, but there are some moment when you push the pawn, comes here, push the pawn, your king will be somewhere here, or king will be somewhere here, and then there will be a chance of an stalemate. So always you should move king to h6. Now king have to come here, king goes here, and then after pawn, now king goes anywhere, there is pawn push and there is queen. So remember, if you are a pawn up, you should also think of sacrificing a pawn in the very opening, so that you can have the winning position. Look at this position. We had the starting position where you should sacrifice a pawn to win the position. If you will not be able to sacrifice a pawn, you will not be able to win this game. Let me revise it again. f7 is the first move. Even king to d6 is also possible, but there will be a move like king to f7, and you will lose a move, just a move behind to win the game. However, this is also okay, like king goes here, then after pawn push, again it's fine, like capturing the pawn and king comes here, then again you can go for similar way, but you will be a move behind for it. However, you will win this game, no problem in that case. So king to d6 is also okay, but after f7 is more accurate. f7 goes here, king to d6, then captures. You will be having a move ahead for this. So in this way, you should win the game. King to f6 is not so good. King to f6 is also winning in this position, but I prefer you to play king to f6 because there is less chances of having stalemate, guys. Live is live delay. I cannot see live delay. Let me check it out. Live is delay or not? Let me check it out. I don't think live is delay. I don't know where it is delay. Can I make it? Just a minute. I don't think it's delay. Where is delay? It's 20 seconds. Okay, guys. I'll be giving you the third position, and third position goes like this. This is the position where it's what will happen if it's black to play. What will happen? It's white to play. This is our third position for king pawn endgame. And what will happen? What do you think will happen in this case? Of course, you can see if black, it's black to play. I guess it's no, it's white to play. What happens if black to play, and what happens if black to play, if white to play? Right at this moment, it's white to play. But what happens if it's black to play? If king comes here, then it will be winning, I guess. So it's white to play first. What you will play? I'll check it out if there is any delay in the streaming, but I don't think there is any delay regarding it. It might be 5 to 10 seconds delay, and that doesn't matter. But actually, it's white to play. But if it's black to play, then what will happen? If it's white to play, then what will happen? I just want to know from you guys. I will be saying you answer. I will say I'll be giving you 2 minutes for this, so you can find it out what happened. King pawn endgame are really good, and you should know what will happen in that case. Draw in which case? Rise in the portal. Draw in which case? Yes, it's white to play, then draw. If it's black to play, and then win. How will white to play its draw, and how will it be if it's white? If it's black to play, then win. If black to play, it's win, and if white to play, it's draw. How will white play to draw this game? What will be the answer, guys? What do you think will be the answer? If G pawn is pushed, then it's not draw, it's losing. As we have already seen, like if you will be able to take the opposition by your king, then it will be draw, and if you will not be able to take the opposition, like we have seen in this position, in the very first position, if you will be able to take the opposition, like if king takes the opposition, then it will be draw. If you will not be able to take the opposition, it will be losing for you. So in this, we will be having same theory over here. If you will push the pawn, your opponent can capture with the king, or no, your opponent will capture with the pawn. If king comes, your opponent will come to the king to g4. Pawn is coming up, king comes here, captures, king comes here, takes the opposition, and then after it's, of course, yes, black will win if it's black to play. Like if if it's black to play, king comes on the g4, and then after king comes here, he will simply captures, and if pawn pushes and captures, it's white to play. And how will white continue? Like if I got an answer like g6. If g6, f captures g6, f5, and then after f captures, g captures f5. Is it draw? No, it's not draw. I don't think it's draw because you are able to take the opposition immediately. I'm getting a comment like, let me check it out. Just a minute, guys. I'm just about to read the comment. In this position, what will be winning or not? Let me check it out. In this, what happens? Black to play, the king can capture the pawn. It's yes. If black to play, it's simply winning. What happens if white to play? At this position, how will black play to win this game? What do you think will happen? Yes, it's white to play and not black to play. I just asked if black to play. It's simple black to play. It's winning, so no problem. Comments are showing so delay on the screen. Is it so? I didn't think so. It's happening for everyone or not? I don't think it's happening for everyone. It might be your connection issue rather than the portal, so no problem in that case. Comments are showing exactly no problem. How will black, how will white continue now? Is it will be draw or not? Yes, it's draw in this case. But after pawn push, what happens if king captures? It will be, of course, king comes here. Then after king comes here, then after king comes here, it will be draw. Pawn captures, pawn push. King to g1. Pawn captures, it will be draw. Nice move. Pawn push. Pawn push. Nice move. Who just answered that one? Pawn to g6. What happens if king to g2? Is it winning or not? So I'm showing you the game. What happens if king to g2? If white plays king to g2, it's winning for black or not? Pawn to g6 was the correct move. It was answered by Rajan the Polar, of course. This is the correct one. Pawn to g6, just because you can take the opposition like captures, captures. Is it winning for black or is it draw? Of course, this is draw position. Just wait for your opponent to move. Like king to g1 is the correct move that was said by Jessiel Gossip, and king to g1. And when your opponent moves to the g 4, now simply take the opposition. This is the moment where you should move your king to g2. This is the actual point where should you know. You should never move your king to the s2 at this case. You should never move your king to g2 in this case as well, because your opponent will be taking the opposition. When you know what is a position, you will be moving your king to the g1. That's the moment. King to g1 is the correct move. This is how you can draw this position. You should never move your king to the g2. You should never move your king to the s2 in this case. And if king goes to the g5, you should move your king to the f1. Similar case, just move your king to the h. And this final rank. Final rank, if king comes forward, then simply take the opposition. If king does not come forward, like if king goes here, then you can move your king forward. But if king come forward, then you should take the opposition. This is how you should play to draw the game. It's similar to the position, very first position. So if you know the first position, how to take the opposition, then you will be able to make this draw. If you don't know this type of position, you will not be able to draw this position. Like g6 was the accurate move. G6 was the first move. If you'll go to protect this pawn, like if you'll go to king to g2, how your opponent will win this game? How will your opponent win this game? This is winning for black now. It's black to play and win the game. How will you win? Let's see. Rajendra Paul is simply, yes, your comment are great. You're, of course, you know the end game. It means you know some how its end game is good. It's black to play. Of course, king will come to g4. King to g4 attacks the pawn. Now if comes to g6 is not the accurate move, because king caps, pawn captures, and then after pawn pushes, then after what happens? Pawn captures and black will have the opposition at this case. Black will have the opposition at this case. Black will have the opposition at this case. So of course, if you'll go king here, then you will have the similar position which you had in the first puzzle, which is just so pawn pushes, then if king comes, then king comes, then king comes, then pawn pushes, king can come here, then goes here, pawn pushes, then simply it's yes. Rajinder Paul just says king forward, that's the correct one. King z4, yes, king to g4 is the correct one. But in this case, what happens if king to g1 in this case? What happens if king to g1? Is king to g1 correct one or not? From today, we'll not have the connection issue because we have some high bandwidth internet, so no problem in that case. How many of you are watching? You can simply comment it out, guys. Comment and say the answer. If you are able to say the answer, means you are good. You are good in the end game. We'll be coming out every Tuesday with new position, new variation. We'll try to teach you so that today we, if you know this type of position, you'll be able to find out what opposition, and you can have good position. You can win the game when you have an extra pawn, and of course when your opponent doesn't take the opposition, you can win the game. White lose, I guess. Yes, of course, at this position, if king to g1, white will lose the game. In this case, king can come to the g4 again. If pawn pushes on g6, look at this. There was pawn g6. Now pawn captures, and if pawn pushes, then we have king captures on the f5. And this position, here we have king captures on the f5. That's why king to g1 is not the correct move. Even king moving the king is not the correct move, and moving the pawn was the correct move to draw the game. Just waiting so that you can take the opposition. This is the correct one. Like pawn pushes was the answer, correct? Captures, pawn push, captures, and then after king to g1 is the magic move. Magic move, king to g1. If you move your king to g2, then it's lost. If you move your king to s2, again it's lost for you. So it's the third position we were looking at. Let's go to the another position. We have an extra pawn, we have an extra pawn. Let's see the extra pawn on the rook. Rook, extra rook pawn, we have extra pawn on the rook. What happens in this position? It's black to play. Will it be win for black, or it will be draw? Rook pawn. Of course, remember when there will be rook pawn, most probably there is high chances of having draw in the game. So rook pawn, very high chance of draw. So in this position it will be draw, but how will it be draw? If you know this theory, then you can be able to draw the game. But if you don't know the theory at this position, then you'll not be able to draw this game. Black to move, yes, it's black to move, it's draw. Sokul Buddha Toki, yes, it's draw. Yes, it's draw. Let's check it out how it's draw. It's black to play and it's draw the game. Let's check it out how it will be draw. Rook pawn end game will be showing in out. There will be two position in this case. Two position in this case. We have this position. One is this. Another. There is two position. Like you have when your king will be over here and your king will be over here. So we have two position. Like you can see on the screen. Well, this position is the next variation. This is the first variation. If of course black have to capture to win the game, so he simply captures. And how will white continue? White will simply come here, just go to the square. King comes here, again go here. If king comes here, again go here. And if king comes here, then go for here. King comes here, then come here. Pawn pushes, then simply move your king to the these two squares. If you will move your king to the corner square and second last corner of the square, it's simply draw for you. Like pawn pushes king comes here, pawn pushes king comes here, pawn pushes, it will be simply capturing the pawn. So if king comes over here, then king comes here, then after pawn push, it will be stalemate and it's draw. Yeah, we have this position where white can simply come to the corner square and simply draw the game. Like king can come this way as well. King cannot come this way. Sorry, king cannot come this way, because if your opponent captures this, king comes here, then king can come here. So never go to the, you should always move your king diagonally, not orthogonally. This is another theory. You should always move your king diagonally, not orthogonally. So in this case, if pawn captures, never move your king like this. So you should always move your king and diagonally, goes here, comes here, and just move your king to the corner. We'll move to the next position where king is not on the e5, king is on the e6. What happens in this case? What happens on the king to e6? Will it be draw for white, or it will be winning for black? What do you think will happen, guys? This is another position where similar to previous position, but have king on the e6 rather than king on the e5. One minute delay. Position where king is not on the. I'm also what happens at the king? Will it be dropped, or it will be winning for black? What do you think? It's not showing. It's showing 10 to 15-second delay. Let me check it out again. Let me check it out. It's not me who's delaying. It's the YouTube who's just delaying the streaming. So sorry for that if there is anything like that. Sorry guys. I'm not able to do anything in this case. I'm just trying to make it more good for you so that everyone can watch it out. Everyone can find it out. 1 minute delay. It's not 1 minute delay. I think it might be somehow 20-second delay or 10-second delay. Not more than that. YouTube never make it 1 minute delay. It's white to play. It's white to play. No, sorry, it's black to play. What will happen? Black to play, and will black be able to win this game? What do you think will happen? Rook pawn in game. If your king is not behind the pawn, if your king is in front of the pawn, like if your king is in front of your opponent pawn, then you can simply go towards the corner square and win the game. But in this position, your king is not in front of the pawn, but it's backward behind the opponent pawn. So will it be winning for white or not? So it will be winning for black or not? Sorry. What do you think will happen, guys? Yes, it's draw. And I got the answer by Dipesh Giri. Dipesh Giri is a talented player. Of course, he will be knowing this type of position. There is rook. That is king captures an as5, not as4. That is king captures an f5, not as5, not as4. So next move will be king to f5, not king to f4. I saw the answer over here. King to f5 just have a position again. When you will have the opposition on the rook pawn, then it will be, of course, be draw. Your opponent cannot come to any square. You have to move the king to h4. I can take the position. Not let your opponent come out of this rook file. And if king comes here, I can take the opposition. If king comes here, I can take the opposition. If king comes here, I can simply take the opposition. Or you can also go to capture the pawn as well. You can also go for capturing the pawn, and you will capture the pawn, and you can simply win the game. Hopefully everyone knew when there will be a rook pawn, most probably there is high chances of having draw. And if you have another pawn like on the b file, c file, D file, E file, F file, or G file. If you will be able to take the opposition, then you will be winning the game. And if you will not be able to take the opposition, you will have to satisfy with the draw. And if your opponent does any mistake, then you can simply win the game taking the opposition, of course. Most probably everyone learn about the opposition, what the opposition is, and how can you win the game. Also, when you will have an extra pawn, in order to take the opposition, you need to sacrifice a pawn. When there was two pawns in the example number 2, we had an extra pawn on the f6, and we should simply sacrifice of the pawn. And this is another position. It's white to play. This is the final position we'll be looking out today, and this is white to play. How will white continue, and what will happen if it will be draw for white, or it will be winning for black? It's white to play. What will white play, and how will it be? How will it happen? It's look like easy, like king comes here, king comes here, king comes here, king comes here, like king marching towards this square and king marching towards this square, capturing the pawn. But it's not that easy, as we can see on the board. There is some logic in this position, so you have to see this position most you have to see with more mind. You have to think more properly in this case. Like first move is of course king to g1. Now black will continue. How will black continue? Black plays on the king to f3, then after black plays on the king to f1. Right time we play a4. Yes, right. We have to see when white can play a4. So it's not the winning position for black, guys. It's not the winning position for black. Like if pawn king comes here, king comes here, king comes here, then if you will be playing like king to these one, then it will be losing immediately. Like king comes here, there will be pawn push. Now you can play what? King captures on b4, and after king captures, pawn captures, and after it pawn captures, king captures. Of course, it will be draw in this case, but how well? If a4 is played over here, then there will be pawn captures, king comes here. Can it be winning or not? A4 is played in this case. So in this case, how will you play? So in this case, if king to c3, never play king to c1. You can go for your opponent can simply attack the pawn. King comes here, and then after if you will play your pawn push, then king can capture the pawn, and you will be losing two pawns, and you will be simply losing the game. Yes, it's draw. That's why I'm showing you how you can make it draw. It look like your opponent can simply go and capture the pawn, but it is draw. How can you make it draw? The move is a4. A4 is the brilliant move that you have to know about. A4 is the brilliant move. It is similar to the previous position where we had the rook pawn endgame. When you have knowledge of rook pawn endgame, then you can find out the move a4, where your opponent will have two pawns on the rook file, but he will not be able to win the game. You will be having two pawns on the rook file, but he will never able to win the game. This is how you should know about the king pawn endgame and about the rook pawn endgame. You should know about it. Even you, if your opponent have two pawns up, you will not be able to win the game. Now if king comes here, king comes here, then after we have a4. A4 is the only move that makes it draw. A4 is the only move. This is our first video on King Pawn Endgame. Of course, we'll be having another lecture on it. Like we have now King Pawn Endgame. Another example of it. A4 was the first move that A4 was the move, just making 2 pawns on the rook file, and we could simply A4 was the move. A4 is the only move that could make 2 pawns on the rook file and make this position draw. Anything like king to c1 would lead you immediately lose the game. So you should always know about the rook pawn endgame. If there will be 3 pawns, if there will be 4 pawns in the rook file, there will be no winning for your opponent. So always remember rook pawn endgame whenever there any pawn on the rook file. If your king is just in front of your opponent pawn, then it will be of course draw. If king is behind the pawn, then you will be losing the position for sure. Let's go back. Let's go now to the another position. Let's go, guys, to the another position. We have this type of position, and it's of course white to play. How will white play or how will black play? It's white to play, and white just plays king to c3. It's black to play. Will it be winning for? It is again the same position. There is one question on this. शुरू में a4 खेलते खेरी शुरू में a4, like if king is on the f1 and if you play a4, then you can simply like a4 then captures and king can simply pawn can simply promote in this position. So if king comes here, pawn simply promotes and then after it will be losing position. So you should calculate your king position as well. You should calculate your king position, then after only you should move a4. If your king can simply capture the pawn on the a4s, then only you can move your a4. We'll be having every end game one by one, so guys do not be in hurry. So we'll be having another end game as well. This is how we have another end game, and this is similar to previous end game. Of course, this is also similar to previous end game, that is rook pawn end game. How will black play and how will black play to draw the game? It's black to play now. How will black play to draw the game? What will be the answer for black? What do you think will happen? We'll be having nearly 1 hour lecture every Tuesday. We'll be trying to teach you end games. Also, we'll be trying to make some different position. We'll try to bring in some interesting positions so that it will help you to improve your chess. This is again another position for rook pawn endgame and rook pawn endgame. And how will black play to draw the game? There was king on the c2, king moves on the c3, trying to capture the pawn on the a4. How will black play? Yes, again, it's the same answer. Just push the pawn, and your opponent must capture the pawn. Otherwise, if you push your pawn, your opponent will push the pawn, and simply it will be winning for. Simply, it will be either you have to king must come here, and king your opponent can come and take the position and simply draw the game. Sorry, sorry. What happens if b4 over here or b4? Yes, b4 over here or b3 also. If b3, your opponent will simply come here and or b4 immediate b4. Let's see for immediate b4. Your opponent will come here, king comes here, pawn push capture, king comes here, king comes forward, king comes here, your opponent will take the opposition. Now what you will play? Just go behind, just go down. You should remember, you should never let your opponent take the opposition. So just go down, king comes up, then you can come here. Now pawn push, just go behind, just go in the same file again, king comes here, take the position, and you can draw the game simply. So a3 is the correct answer. Any other move other than a3, like if king comes here, then king comes over here, king comes here, king captures the pawn on the a4, then there will be no rook pawn, instead there will be knight pawn, and it will be winning for white. So if again, what happens if a3 pawn captures an a3, then king can simply go towards the corner on the simply go toward the corner on the 8 and draw the game. King comes here, pawn pushes, king comes here, king comes, pawn pushes, king comes here, pawn, king comes here, king can simply come on the a8, king can come on the b8, simply draw the game. This is the first lesson of king pawn endgame, and many of you might know about it. This is our first class in king pawn endgame, so we'll have just started with very basic king pawn endgame. And if you do not know about the king pawn endgame, you can of course revise this type of chapter. This is the king pawn endgame, and you should of course know what is opposition. Opposition is the first chapter that we just covered up till now, and opposition, if you know the opposition, you will be able to draw the game, you will be able to win the game. विशाल सामलिंग चेस बच्चा को गेम प्ले ludo is not so, ludo is a very bad game, I guess, not so good. Chess, you have to think much, you have to be mind, you should think much, you have to be mindful. It's a big mindful game. For today it's almost over, and we had, let me check it out, the first position. This was our, let me show you the first position. This was our first position where king to e3 was mistake. Similarly, we have second position. Let me check it out. Let me show you the second position. This was our second position where we saw f7, sacrificing a pawn was the move, where you should sacrifice a pawn to take the opposition, grab the pawn and simply win the game. Of course, we have another position like this position. We had pawn up, but if your opponent simply go forward, and you can simply take the opposition and then win the game. Just think how you can take the opposition. That was the correct move, and taking the opposition will of course let you win the game. Rook pawn endgame most probably always draw the game. If you move your king towards the corner square, then you will be able to win the, you will be able to draw the game. If you are a pawn down, when there will be a rook pawn endgame. Similarly, another pawn rook pawn endgame. If you are not able to go towards the corner square like you had your king on the e6, simply block your opponent king, taking the opposition king to f5, and it will simply lead the draw position. Then after we had this position where your opponent is moving to capture the pawn on the a3, you should move your king, and then after make your opponent pawn on the rook file, and then after you can go towards the corner and simply draw the game. If there will be 2 pawns, there will be 3 pawns, there will be 4 pawns on the same rook file, no matters, it will lead towards the draw. Then after we had this type of position where this is the final position which just show you. This is the final position where you had king to c3, king to c3. After king to c3, you should always move here a3, otherwise your king will come here and capture the pawn. What makes a3? A3 will make your opponent a rook file pawn, and rook pawn endgame is of course draw. Rook pawn endgame is simply draw. If you know what is rook pawn endgame, and if you know how to draw it, you will be moving a3 in this case, and you will make it draw. Tomorrow we'll be having this type of position, 2 pawn, 2 isolated pawns. Not tomorrow, in the next chapter, coming Tuesday, we'll be having king pawn endgame. We'll continue with that, and of course we will be having 2 pawn this, winning 2 pawns. But how will you win the game? This type of position. Similarly, we have another many position where you can win the game. So guys, those who are watching, please do like, and if you have not subscribed our channel, please do subscribe. Thank you all for being there with us. Thank you. Of course, you might have learned something from me. Of course, I'm trying to make you all learn something, learn more, play chess, and of course improve yourself. Thank you all for watching us, and if you have not subscribed our channel, please do subscribe. And if anyone want to support us, support is given on the link on the screen. So guys, if you want to do any kind of support, anything you want to do, you can of course message on the Facebook page as well. Thank you. Please do like our Facebook page as well. Thank you, and bye bye. See you next video, or in the next live streaming, or anything like that. Let's go. I'm ending it. Thank you, and bye bye. Bye bye, guys.